Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the SEO Mindset podcast, where your hosts are myself, Tazmin Suleiman, and my dear friend Sarah McDowell. Every Thursday we publish a new episode, and this week I'm talking to Sabiha Shakil about stakeholder management and why it's important to everyone for their career development. It's a really interesting episode because it delves into why stakeholder management isn't just for leadership. It is for anybody who wants to progress their career, and it really goes into the depths of who you need to be connected with. So really, really interesting episode. Now, who is Sabiha Shakil? Well, she is the founder and CEO of marketing consultancy business Nisa Digital, which is based in the UAE. They specialise in life and applied sciences marketing, and they provide strategic, digital, and mentoring services to really help these businesses achieve their marketing goals. But that it doesn't end there with Sabiha. She is also the recipient of the Top 100 Rising Women Power Leaders in Asia to the 2023 award. And she's also a mentor and a member of various communities from DWBC, our own Women in Tech, and FCDC. On top of all of that, she judges on so many marketing awards, including Global Search Awards, MENA Search Awards, and the APAC Search Awards. Now, before we dive into all of her information on stakeholder management, a little reminder to everyone that if you'd like to support what Sarah and I are doing on this podcast, there's various ways you can do that. One of the ways is to donate via the Buy Me a Coffee link, which is in the show notes. And the other one is just share this podcast with anyone and everyone that you think would benefit from it. That would be amazing. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk to Sabiha. Hello, Sabiha. How are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's so great to be here, and I love this podcast. I want to congratulate you on your 100th episode back in July. I think the podcast is going to amazing places. People are talking about it in the industry, so I just wanted to congratulate you on that first. And
Thank you. That's so heartwarming to hear because Sarah and I started this podcast as a little thought. There are problems that the industry are facing. Let's do something about it. Let's help in which way, in a way that we could. And the fact that you're saying that it's landing and people are excited about it and enjoying it means a lot. Thank you so much.
you're doing really good work, both you and Sarah.
And you too had an anniversary recently, 2 years of Nisa Digital.
Yeah, over the weekend we completed 2 years. Still, we become toddlers now, and we're going into our third year. So very excited for new things to come. The team is growing. We've fortunately had amazing customers in the past 2 years, and they've been very supportive. The team has been amazing. I mean, we haven't really had any attrition, or like the people who have been there from day one are still there. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Oh, many congratulations. And I'm really excited to see the growth that you're experiencing and the journey that you're taking and different avenues you're exploring. So all the best from myself and the podcast for your future growth.
Thank you.
Sabiha, today we're talking about a topic that we've not covered in the podcast before, which is a topic of stakeholder management. And it's certainly something that I have changed my perspective on what that means. So I'd love to hear what your perspective is. What is stakeholder management?
Basically, it's managing expectations of the people you work with, and your customers and anybody that's going to be in contact with you. So you first sort of start off by understanding what are their expectations from you, and then make sure whatever you need to deliver to them is aligned to what their expectations are or beyond what their expectations are. So a lot of times you have disagreements or miscommunications, or stakeholder relationships get negatively developed or impacted because you're not aligned in the outcome of the task or project that you're delivering. So I think one of the key things in stakeholder management is really trying to come to a conclusion on what is the objective, what is the outcome, and what the other person expects from you. Who benefits from stakeholder management would be basically anybody, because especially in marketing and SEO, we are all support functions in any organization. Okay, whether you're an agency or you're in-house or you're a freelancer, you're supporting a larger objective. We're not a customer facing department. We basically work in the background to deliver projects, websites, content, social media, everything. So that for the end customer, which is the person, which is the companies or the agency's customers at the end of the day. But the people who come in the middle are the people that you work with. So you have your teams, your managers, your vendors, even your sales teams, your IT teams. So a lot of times, because revenue, marketing, sales, IT, they've now even started to work closer together. So you actually have even more stakeholders to manage. But
Yeah.
yes, anybody can benefit from ensuring that they have good stakeholder management skills.
And you see, this is what has definitely changed in my mind. When I was new to working, when I entered the corporate world, I used to think stakeholder management is what my manager does with other people. It's not for me. I'm not managing a team. I'm not managing projects. I don't need to do any of it. It's not my job. Then, when I moved into leadership positions, I thought, oh, the people who are funding those projects, that's who my stakeholders are. And that's who I need to manage. Now, I know that I did manage the team, but I didn't think of them as stakeholders. And I never thought of sort of like functions that were dependent on me and I was dependent on them. I didn't think of them as stakeholders. And I also think that had I done that earlier, had I realized the potential of, or the impact it could have to my career on, like you said, in marketing, we are working with other teams. They have expectations of us, we have expectations of them. And often that turns into, oh, so and so in finance, they didn't do this, da, 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 da," instead of being really professional about it and seeing it as a managed relationship.
I think the way of working is very important. Um, Basically, trying to understand, well, treating the other person as a customer. So,
Yeah.
we are so nice to our customers, but we end up, under pressure, being so mean to each other in the teams. Right? Or managers, they need to, they get so stressed because they haven't met some target, and then the team gets really stressed. And it's just that as managers, I think brought a very good point about managers. And I think I've always looked at myself as, okay, who are my immediate customers, and who are my indirect customers, right? And my immediate customers are my teams. I need to make them happy, because a lot of times you think that the team members are working for the manager, but what I've learned in leadership is that the leadership team is working for the team, because we need to ensure they get recognition. We need to ensure that they're getting paid, and we need to ensure that they get their increments, and and that their work is recognized by the whole company. This is either in-house agency, or whether you're attending an industry award or anything like that. So I think it goes both ways. The team, and that's where role matters. Understanding what is your role in achieving a higher objective and success in a project that you're driving.
So, and I love what you said. As managers and as leaderships, it's our role to make sure that the team we're working for them. I think I can't remember the quote exactly, but Richard Branson said something like, we always hear that the customer's always all right and you have to look after them. He said, but you're not looking after them, your team is. So if you look after your team, they will look after the customers.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's just a different way of shifting it. All right, so just for a bit more clarity, whether it's in-house or agency or freelancers, can you give me some examples, some really broad examples of who a stakeholder could be? Supposing someone's not managing a team and they're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know who my stakeholders are.
So, if you're an SEO, since this is the SEO podcast, the SEO, a lot of times, yeah, you have like large SEO teams. One who's going to be responsible for technical, one who's going to be responsible for content, and another on analytics, data, performance. So each one is going to be reporting to somebody, a manager, right? This is in a larger organization. Some organizations just have one SEO person doing everything related to SEO, but both have the same objective at the end of the day, is to deliver the marketing objective, to deliver based on what their responsibility is, the overall performance of the department. So what do I mean by this? So a technical SEO person will ensure that everything in regards to technical SEO is on track, so that the person developing the content is having the right, what do you say, the right backing in terms of on the website, to be able to deliver effective and content that makes sense for both the organization and the end user. Then you have your people doing all the analytic stuff. People need to work together with both teams to ensure that whatever content you're producing, whatever technical aspects of SEO you're working on, all tie into one objective, and that's overall the team objective. So at the end of the day, the team themselves are stakeholders of each other, right? Mm-hmm. And then their larger stakeholder is the manager, and the manager's larger stakeholder is the CMO, or the head of the department in marketing, right? So the manager and the CMO cannot deliver their performance without the team. So they need to ensure that they're working well with their teams and providing whatever they need for their team success. The team needs to make sure that whatever their tasks they're responsible for is being delivered to their immediate team members and then to their managers. And so it's very important to be able to look at your team members as customers as well, because you'll understand their way of working. You'll understand what are their expectations of the task. Maybe an analytics person will require certain data points that are more important from a reporting point of view, and a technical SEO person will maybe have different views on that, what they think are important in terms of the overall performance of the site. And then the content person will say this doesn't make sense from a branding perspective, So it's all working together as a team, and you have to ensure that you're aligned so that the manager can deliver what they need to deliver.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty long explanation.
But as you were talking about it, I was thinking back to when I was working at Argos, which was a big organization. So there was a team writing the content, a team making updates to the website, a team that would do the QA for the website. And all of us had to work together. One of the things that you've mentioned, and you know, I've talked about it before, is this ways of working. And I think sometimes we are reluctant to formalize what that looks like. But actually, by formalizing it, that, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this by Wednesday at 5 o'clock. I need you to be able to deliver this, this, and this, Thursday at 9 o'clock, whatever that looks like, because it just clears that communication. Everyone knows what they're doing, when they need to do it by, who's dependent on them, who they are dependent on. But it has such potential to make all of this so much easier, but it's not something we tend to do often, is it?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I do when I start any kind of project or any kind of campaign is establish a way of working with internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. And that actually helps you to understand what's going on at the other end, and it helps you to understand the way. It helps to reduce tensions between teams as well, because you're able to understand what they find important and what they don't. Like maybe somebody needs to look at the document 2 days before talking about it. Please send me the document or send me the data, or send me the audit beforehand so that I can, be prepared for meetings. Or there's just small things like that, and that helps to make sure that the team is being efficient. But as a manager, it's very important to establish that way of working. And the same thing with customers. When you onboard a customer, like the first thing we do in Nisa Digital is that we establish a way of working, and what are the expectations. Like if a customer doesn't want a weekly meeting, or they want a monthly meeting, or they want two meetings every 2 weeks, or how do they want their reports? Are the reports okay with them? Because otherwise you'll do all this work and then suddenly they'll come back to you and be like, no, I don't want your standard reports, it's not relevant for me.
Yeah.
you know so it's just the way establishing that way of working helps to align on the expectations on both sides, and what can be delivered and what can't, and by whom, is establishing the roles and the responsibilities of tasks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been so much insight in just that first few bits of conversation. We're going to go to a break now, but I just wanted to summarize in my head and add to it if you feel I'm missing it. But when you are working, anybody that your success is tied to is your stakeholder. And you don't have to be a manager, you don't have to be senior in the organization. Right from the minute you start your very first job, to be vigilant about, who do I need to help me make my work better, more successful? And that will save so much time and friction and stress, which you could then spend developing your career. So it's actually really critical for anybody who wants to develop their career. So after the break, we've talked about, so okay, I'm sold. I know what it is. I know it's important, and I know that it'll be in places where I probably didn't think about it before. But after the break, let's talk about how we get better at it. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the second half of this conversation, all about stakeholder management, that I am having with Sabiha Shakil from Nisa Digital. And just a recap on the first half, yeah, Sabiha, you absolutely sold it to me, and I'm sure everyone else listening, that stakeholder management is something that is really important for career progression, really important for actually minimizing career stress, and it is important at every single level of your career. So you sold it to us. How do we get better at it?
I That's where this podcast becomes very relevant. It's just having the right mindset, being open to hearing other people's views. When you're talking about aligning your expectations with customers or your team members and your managers, it's really being open to what their expectations are, and for those people to be open to what your expectations are in terms of what you need to do to be successful in a task or a project. So I think that's very important to have the correct mindset.
That's such a great point that you brought on, because like the first episode we recorded was about growth mindset. And if you go to an organization and think, okay, this is how I've always done it, then you're not growing, are you? You're not open to a different way of thinking. And to go to another team is, I remember, like, the coders were the bad people, right? I want to get this change in, and they are saying it's priority 75 for them, but for me it's priority number one. And there's that tussle, isn't it? But if you opened your ears and your mind to understanding where they're coming from, and vice versa, then it's smoother, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why that's a priority on somebody's list, and sometimes you don't know why that's a priority. It will have a bigger impact for the organization, or the organization will prioritize on certain things. So I think this is a very common challenge. I think what SEOs have, they said, no, I think we need to focus on this aspect, but just the organization or the teams are not doing it. The customer is not looking into this, and they need to look, and they're just talking about PPC or paid or whatever. They just want to amplify their campaigns, but they're not really looking at the organic performance of sites or things like that. So I think it's important to understand really why it's a priority, and why certain and how that impacts the performance that they're trying to achieve. Because at this day and age, marketing has become so performance driven. Like everybody, it's not just looking at vanity metrics; it's looking at, okay, what kind of return are you giving to the organization, apart from just views and sessions and clicks? Are you actually giving me business? Are these initiatives even impacting us in any way? So I think, and that has a lot to do with how the organizations set priorities now. It's it's challenging, but that, a CEO who has maybe not much knowledge of SEO will come and say, I need 20,000 organic leads next month. Or in 3 months time, or I need so. But it's something that you need to understand, and you base your strategies and your projects on what is important for the larger organization, and that's how you can create impact as well, as an individual, or as a manager, or even a vendor or freelancer. Yeah.
So you were talking about having that mindset to learn and to understand somebody else's viewpoint. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I'm in an organization, I've listened to this podcast, and I think, oh, actually, Sabiha and Tasman was saying that I should get better. This would really help progress my career if I understood other teams. So you tittle off and you work out which teams are connected to you and set up a meeting and say, I'd really love to understand your viewpoint and your challenges and so on. And that's fine. You can listen to them, but you have to really listen to them, don't you? You have to see their side of it, not just token listen.
Yeah, and in order for you to see that side of it, I think there needs to be a level of transparency and openness between the other person and you. And I think to help you understand their perspective. Okay, this is how I look at this data, or this is how the management looks at this data, or this is how the customer looks at this data. And I want you to be able to show me what you're doing and how it impacts this data point or this performance point. So I think, or even if you're looking at tasks, how does your initiatives really impact the overall SEO department performance as a whole? So I think, yeah, it's really important. I wanted to ask you, Tasmin, what were your challenges when you were managing stakeholders?
Um, so I think the main challenge was I'd have to do the day job. So it was getting the data there, and my customers were the people in the organization. So our job was to get the data in, to cleanse it to a certain level, to let it feed into the reporting tools in time for people that would come into work and use that data. And that was critical because nothing could happen without that data. But then we would have projects to implement new data feeds or improve data feeds. And I had like four different stakeholders there from different publishers because it was all magazine data. And each manager thought that that data was the most important. But overall, we had to make a choice because we couldn't do all of them at the same time. So there had to be some priorities. And it was communicating to them that actually the other publisher's data needs to take priority over yours, because bear in mind, this other publisher was a competitor. So it was a very odd organization. We were almost owned by four competitors. But what we found, or what I found, was build the relationship up before you hit problems. So what you were talking about, ways of working, when we started a project, okay, help me understand what is it that you need? Why do you need it? When do you need it by? What sort of format? Let's work on the quality, make sure that the data that we're giving you is going to be fit for purpose. And really connecting with them, because and also asking, how often do you want an update? What sort of format do you want an update in? Do you just want me to tell you when things go wrong? Do you want them regularly? And delivering on it. So once you have decided this is how I want the relationship to work, you have to deliver on it, even if it is to say, oh, you asked for an email every Friday, there's nothing to update this Friday, but I'm going to send one email saying, hi, whoever.
There's nothing to update this Friday.
Yeah, hope you're well. Yeah,
Exactly.
hope you
Yeah,
always here to if you need to reach out to me, just want to remind you I'm always here to listen to you. Blah blah blah. Because it
exactly.
is building that trust. And if I've said I'm going to do something, I have to do something, so that when things go wrong, and they will go wrong, things will always.
Yeah, for sure.
You are then not going in cold. You've got that relationship there.
Yeah. I'm a consultant, so a lot of projects I work with heads of departments, people really senior in their roles. And the moment I join any project, um, I the first thing I establish with the customer is that, because a lot of times I may be senior in terms of experience and roles, or I may not be, but it's really trying to understand who you're going to be servicing and who are you going to be working with, because a lot of times it's the managing directors or the CMOs who will hire me and say, Sabiha, can you take a look at this? And I'll come in and take a look at it, and but then I also have to be mindful of the fact that people may feel like, okay, what is she doing? She doesn't know the business, or she doesn't know how we work or anything like that. It's also being mindful of some of the fact that it might be a sensitive situation for them. Are we not good enough? Why are they hiring a consultant to come in? So these are very common consultancy problems, and I'm sure freelancers will face this as well. You go in and be like, okay, here, I'm here to fix all your problems, and then the team will be like, I don't have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're related to their performance. Oh, but we have delivered this last year and this that. Well, what are you going to do better? So it becomes like a, a competition. And then a lot of times, maybe in the past, if I didn't manage it well, I would have imposter syndrome. I was like, maybe I'm not so good enough to come and consult for this organization. But I think the first thing to do in that scenario is say, hey, have that onboarding call, have that call, and say, understand what is the expectation of the team member, and really tell them that, okay, I'm here to help. Let me know. Start off, instead of saying that you don't have so and so and so and so and so, I read the whole website loading speed is horrible. This content is not even optimized. Blah blah blah. Instead of going in and saying all these recommendations in one shot, it's just like, okay, what do you think are some things that I should work on? Because obviously you're the expert in your field, you're the expert in, your customers the best. What do you think are some things that I should look at? So no, sort of get insights from them as well, and then that way they'll be open to receiving insights and tips from you and your recommendations. So I think this is very important for freelancers as well as anybody working on in data or SEO or basically anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you, when we're boiling it down, it's not surprising that the key skills that you need are things like communication, really good listening skills, really good documentation skills, building up trust, being personable, having empathy. We forget about these things. And even if someone is annoyed at you, so you asked the question, what was the big challenges? That was a big challenge. But then I would always say things like, because they would then rant, you don't understand how important this data is to blah 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 blah. And even have the humility to say, I hear what you're saying, I really do. Unfortunately, we're in this situation, and reassuring them. So even if I was working on another project, I would still keep them updated on those Fridays to say, I said that we'd get back to you in 14 weeks. That is still how it is, or it could be 13, or it's now 15. Even if it's bad news, it was still keeping them updated. And
Yeah. And it's just like how we keep promises with our customers, right? It's the same thing. Keep promises with your team members too. If you're gonna say you're gonna deliver something, a creative or just or something by Thursday, then say, okay, Thursday. And if you can't make it by Thursday, then let the person know, because a lot of times digital teams are quite specialized and diverse now. So you have some of the content you develop on a website may be used for a paid landing page or something like that. So there are multiple people who can benefit from any activity that goes on. And people, if you're in a team, they'll understand, okay, this is probably coming in, this campaign is coming in mid-month. So maybe I'll probably have a paid campaign and amplify so and so by this month as well. So there's a lot of relationships that get affected, even if it's like the smallest task. And you have to ensure that you're managing even the smallest task properly. But it's important to let the person know, the person who's responsible for that task, that how important their task is for the wider
yeah,
team.
I really feel like we've only scratched the surface, Sabiha. There is so much complexity in this. Um, and we've run out of time. That's the unfortunate thing. We've run out of.
Yeah,
What would
you could talk days, hours, months about stakeholder management.
Absolutely. What is the one takeaway that you would like all of the listeners to go away with?
I think just be humble. Treat everybody nicely. Don't. We're often we're under a lot of pressure to deliver, mainly because now our SEO teams are becoming more performance driven. So I think, and the pressure level is going higher. I'm sure there are a lot more stressful people out there now. And then you have all the external factors impacting your performance. Like anytime a Google update comes, everybody's just like, holding onto their chairs, like, okay, how is this going to impact my performance? So I think it's just like have an open mind, find solutions to problems, and discuss these with your teams, with your stakeholders. Even if you face a problem with the customer, be open to them. Say, hey, sorry, this has happened. We were not able to deliver this on time because things happen. And customers generally are very nice and they're understanding if you let them know and say, okay, but I think what we can do is give them options, alternatives, and things like that. So if so that at the end of the day the whole project doesn't fail. And that is important. That is important to establish. That kind of relationship, trust, openness, mindset is important to establish right at the beginning itself. So start from the beginning. Say, this is how we're going to work. This is the kind of trust that we're probably going to have. I mean, you're not going to say you're not going to go and tell them I trust you, but it's more like this is the kind of a way of working that we want to establish. We want to open relationship. We're open to feedback. Let us know if it's not working. It is working, and we'll have a positive thing. But at the end of the day, it's when we're giving feedback as well, like as managers, as customers, I think it's also good to keep in mind to be mindful of the other person sitting at the end. Because see, you're in a senior position, nobody is going to really yell back at you, or nobody's really going to talk back, and they're just going to be like, yes, yes, sir. And because everybody wants to keep their job, so it's also about customers and managers and senior leaders to be able to talk respectfully to the people that are delivering the performance of the company.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's such a good point. So, again, we said about communication and trust and empathy, and what you're saying there is about respect. And these are very human, deep human traits. It's not about ticking boxes. So on the one side, you've got the performance, but actually that performance is underpinned by some very, very human traits there.
yeah, I mean, what COVID has taught you is that you don't know what's happening behind the scenes with
So true.
anybody.
So
Right.
true.
I mean, people have showed up to work the next day because they didn't have anything else, and they would have had somebody die the
Yeah.
previous day. So I think that was a hard lesson learned as well. I mean, for me as well. I mean, you really don't know who, and it's not just COVID that should teach you that, but it's and you don't know what is happening on the other end, and there's no reason to be so mean to people or disrespect them. It's just and you'll see the more you are kind to them, and the more they are or they will perform, and they'll be more inspired and motivated. I'm not saying that take performance lightly, because I take performance very seriously, but that's something I established at the beginning of the relationship. I was like, I'm performance driven. You let me know if it's not going to happen, okay? Or I need to deliver this for this client, so you need to know whether it's not going to happen so that I can manage
Right.
the client. So it's trying to find that balance
Yeah.
as well.
And it is all about balance. But yeah, great insights. Thank you so much for that.
Hello, everyone. I am joined by the fabulous Crystal Narco, founder of Clear Narrative Media, who is a sponsor and supporter of the SEO Mindset podcast, and so is joining me for a special featured segment, a special little chit chat. Hello, Crystal.
Hey, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Are you excited for this special content?
I'm super excited to be here, especially because I'm usually at the back end.
Yes, it's nice to get you on the front end. Is that the right way of saying that? So I have asked you here today because there is a special event that you're hosting called Clear Connect Network, and that's what you're here to talk about. But before we do that, I am very aware that you have been on the podcast before, but as a reminder, some people might be new, some people might have not come across you yet, Crystal. So give us a little of an intro into who you are and about your business, Clear Narrative Media.
Yeah, sure. So, Crystal, I'm all about marketing and helping other people grow. Clear Narrative Media is a purpose-led media and marketing agency that specializes in transforming how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. And this is done through our 3 core services, which include photography, consultation, and social media management.
Fabulous. Now, tell me about this special event. Tell me about Clear Connect Network.
So right from the inception, about 5 years ago when we started our business, we've always worked with creatives and freelancers, and we wanted to find a way to kind of elevate them up. Hence why we decided to launch our creative network, whereby creatives and freelancers can come together and unite. So we are launching that in October, and it's called the Clear Connect Network.
Lovely stuff. And who is this event for, Crystal?
So this event is for anyone that considers themselves a freelancer, a contractor, a creative, and who is Black and lives in the UK. So that could be anywhere from England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland. So if you live within those regions, you're more than happy to be part of the network.
Lovely stuff. Now, let's talk logistics. Crystal, where is this event happening? When is the event happening? And when is it all kicking off?
So this event is happening during Black History Month next month in October, and it's happening on Saturday, the 19th of October, starting at 11 a.m. in London.
Lovely stuff. And how much are those tickets?
So those tickets, the early bird ticket starts at £45, and if you are a community partner, that starts at £35.
Lovely stuff. So if this sounds like it's a bit of you, make sure that you grab those early bird tickets because, Crystal, when they're gone, right?
Yeah, they're gone. No more left.
And what do you get for that £45?
So we have 4 different tickets, as I mentioned: the early bird, the deluxe, the general, and then the VIP. And depending on which one you want to go to, you get access to the event itself. You also get access to expert speakers and a panelist. We're also providing a buffet, a content area, and we're giving out free headshots to all the freelancers and creatives. And if you are one of those lucky people to grab a VIP ticket, you have access to our VIP room, which has access to platform experts such as TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube.
I mean, I'm imagining that you've got everyone on a buffet. Who doesn't love a buffet, right?
It's a buffet, full spread, with both vegan and meat options.
Lovely stuff. And how are we getting those tickets? How can people secure their spot?
So tickets go live this Friday via Eventbrite, and you can also grab tickets on our website. So either head over to Eventbrite or our website or any of our social media platforms and click on the link and grab yourself a ticket.
Now, I think you've done a fabulous job, Crystal. You've sold this event. You've made it crystal clear. See what I did there? And yeah, our listeners really know about the event. They know about you and Clear Narrative Media. But is there anything else? Is there anything else that you want to say?
Just a shout out. So whether you're a business owner or a Black owned business, and you want to either attend this event or promote your products and services at the event, reach out. And if you are also a brand or a business that offers products and services and you think that our community will benefit from those products and services, you can either reach out by becoming a partner or sponsoring the event.
Awesome. Well, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you, Crystal, and having you on the show. I will put lots of lovely stuff in the show notes, so I really urge people to go and check them out. I'll make sure that there is a link so you can go and get your tickets, and also there'll be links for all the other websites and Crystal's social. Just go and get to those show notes because there's lots in there. I'll also, because I did say at the beginning of this that you've already been on the podcast and you and Tazmin spoke about running a purpose-led business. So I'll make sure those are in the links as well.
Perfect. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Wonderful. And I want to wish you, Crystal, the team, and everyone behind that, good luck. All the attendees have a fabulous time. And yeah, I can't wait to see how it goes, hear all about it. And yeah, the only thing left to say is take care of yourself, everyone.
Now, we always ask our guests a couple of questions to end the episode on. The first question is, who in your opinion is doing some really great work, doesn't have to be in SEO, that you really think is worth us following?
I think you guys are doing a great job. Very unique podcast. I always encourage you, everybody, to follow Tazmin and SEO Mindset podcast, and Sarah. And it's. I think it's what it's. I think you kind of feel the gap that was there in the SEO industry because SEOs have been kind of not given too much attention in the last decade or so. But yeah, and I would always advise people to be part of communities and find one that works best for you. I think what the community that I'm part of is WTS, Women in Tech SEO, right? And FCDC and the PPC and the marketing in AI communities. And I think it's very important to be part of those because you will understand that some of the challenges other people are facing are related to stakeholder management, and also be able to find, you see that there are other people in the same shoes, and you don't have to feel so bad if you have a negative experience.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about community because it can provide support, it can provide perspective. You don't feel alone, which is the whole point of having a community. So really great suggestions there. Now, last question. It's a biggie, Sabiha. What's the best career advice you've ever received?
So the best career advice I've ever received was, I think back when I was 27 years old, and I always remember this, is that my manager at the time, amazing person, so supportive. He would always say, don't compromise on being yourself. Always be you. And from a professional point of view, he said, treat everybody like customers because then you will automatically be nice to them. So everybody's a customer and be nice to them. That way your professional relationships stay positive. And what I'm happy to say that was amazing advice because 20 years later I'm still connected to people from 20 years ago and we still have amazing relationships. We're all engaged with each other's social media content and posts. I don't post that much, but then when I when I do, we are still there, and people just reach out. I mean, just it's just amazing to have that positive relationship. So I always advise that always end any kind of relationship positively, unless it's an actual organizational COC, code of conduct issue. Apart from that, always when you're leaving an organization, leave it with positive relationships, because you don't know when you're gonna face those people in the future. You might become their managers, or they might become your managers, or you might meet them somewhere. The industry is small. So
it's true, so
yeah.
true. So you learnt stakeholder management way back, so it's a good choice having you to talk about it today.
Yeah, it was and I struggled with it too, because there's this common there's this common thing that sales and marketing are enemies
Yeah,
and things like that. And this is while I was growing up, because or or growing up as in my career. And but then I started to think sales teams as partners or customers, and ensuring that they were able to I was able to deliver what they need in the way they needed it, and then in time. Back in the day, you didn't have much of on the online marketing was still growing, and it's still being introduced. And at the end of the day, it was like posters, leaflets, blah blah blah. So it's ensuring that all those things got to sales on time. Or now it's like trying to get a landing page on time in like a specific language, or a specific location or branch or something like that. But it's working with them and being part of the growth together. So, and if they are able to achieve their revenue, then it helps with
so
you as
true.
well. And so I think, I struggled with sales in the past when I was younger. Now that I learned a hard lesson, and I think the first thing I always say to anybody I work with in marketing is that sales are not our enemy. We are friends. IT is our friend. We are friends. We need to achieve success
So
together.
true. So
you
true.
know.
But
So
thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all of this knowledge with us, with the listeners. And I look forward to chatting again soon, Sabiha.
thank you, Tazmin. It was an honor to be here, um, and good luck on the success of
Thank
the
you so much.
podcast.
And just another quick reminder from me to all the listeners, if you're enjoying the content and like Sabiha was saying, it's delivering good stuff, then please, there are various ways that you can support Sarah and myself. One of them is to donate via the Buy Me a Coffee link. The link is in the show notes. And please share the podcast with anyone and everyone that you think would really benefit from it. So until next time, thank you and goodbye.